We are ready to roll here on Soccer Live. Another massive weekend of action and heading into one of the biggest weeks of the year. We've got US Open Cup. We've got CCL on the docket. We're going to be watching soccer 19 hours a day for the next 4 days. We had 1,000 goals scored this weekend. I had an Irish wedding the weekend before St. Patrick's Day and then a massively delayed flight. So I'm excited to be here, guys.
Yeah, your energy level is waning already, and we're 30 seconds into the show. You seem to be less than 100% fit.
I feel like I am doing better than I expected at this point. So I actually felt pretty good until you said that, Doyle.
Well, listen, a little hair of the dog on a Monday just to make sure you're in peak physical condition for the inevitable crash later. All good. How do they celebrate like St. Patty's Day weekend eve in Baltimore, Dave? What's the vibes?
Everyone's got green on. This is one funny thing. There was a St. Patrick's Day 5K run at 1 p.m. on Sunday. I think that is the weirdest thing I have ever heard. I don't know who that's targeting. I don't know what the point of that is. There was a parade as well. Fells Point was lively and electric on Saturday when I walked around. Congratulations to my cousin who got married. And his wife is from South Boston. And her mother is a twin.
A lot coming together right now.
Her mother is a twin who's one of 6 siblings. And there are 2 sets of twins, and they all have twins. And the family photos was like my family, which is 9 people, and then 57 people on the mother's side and like 42 people on the father's side. And they were ready to go. They had hand knitted 4-leaf clovers for people to wear on Sunday after we finished brunch at the James Joyce. Everything was on theme.
The Irish breakfast, blood sausage, beans, eggs, the likes.
There was a mashed potato bar at the wedding.
Oh
which
my
was the
God.
bar
This sounds like a great wedding.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What an experience that is. What was the topping in the mashed potato bar that you were just like mind blown, didn't know that this could go on mashed potatoes?
Well,
this is amazing.
Nothing was didn't know, but if you throw caramelized onions and sauteed mushrooms in anything, and especially in mashed potatoes, so it's good. I think short rib was like the main winner for people that they threw on top, but I like to keep my mashed potatoes separate from my main meal.
General winner there. Yeah. I'm a mixer. I don't know about you guys. My wife always makes fun of me because I will
mix up a meal.
Yeah, she's like, I need a bite of everything, but it's just that one thing. It's exclusive, and I'm just like,
I'm the same.
We're mixing it up here. We're getting a little bit of everything and everything.
It took me a while to realize this because when we plate, my wife makes us plate in that way where it's like beans go here, sweet potatoes go here, rice goes here.
Oh, no.
And then I've realized, and then I just mix the whole thing around.
We need some overlap.
So it doesn't really matter.
Some strategic overlap.
Megan makes you plate in a certain way, like you're 9?
It's for her.
Okay.
It's what she wants because she wants each thing separated.
Yeah.
But
you could do your own plate.
Doyle,
separate.
It's been a while where it's one of those moments where you realize, I don't know, it still hits me every few days of like, oh, I'm an independent human being and an adult. I could do whatever I want.
This is like the sort of situation where you have the wheelbarrow groove, and once you got the groove, you just let the wheel go in the groove, and then you figure it out from there.
I almost jumped off the cliff last night because our flight gets massively delayed on the way back. And the person at the desk is like, there's a 6 a.m. flight tomorrow that has like 1 seat on it, or there's the same flight tomorrow night at like 7:20. But we're supposed to have thunderstorms, so that one might get delayed. And I have all this stuff in the morning that I have to do, but I can work remote. So I'm like, there's 0 chance I'm getting on a 6 a.m. flight. I'm either flying now or I'm flying tomorrow night. And Megan's like, I'm flying the 6 a.m. flights that I can go to the office. And it was this moment where I was like, so we're flying separate, like in my head. And then the guy behind the desk looked at me and goes, she's always right. So you're doing whatever she's doing. Never met the dude before. And I was like, all right, man, that's a lot. You're doing a lot here.
Now there are 2 people making decisions for Dave. By the way, it would be that Megan would marry the person who wants to mix when she is a very strict, everything has its place the plate person. Those are the
for sure.
Oh, yes. You and me both, brother. You and me both.
So, as usual, this show, everything has its place, but me and Wiebe have just mixed everything around out the gate to open things up. As I mentioned, it's a massive week of soccer. We've got US Open Cup round one. I'm really excited. We put together a bunch of really fun stuff that we're going to be rolling out on socials across the Kickback Network to help us cover US Open Cup, to help you get prepped. Some big games this week. I think a prime one for everyone is the Vermont Green Portland Hearts of Pine game that people are very excited about, that I'm sad that I will not be at, but I'm excited to watch from afar. My understanding is all games are streaming across CBS and YouTube, so you can watch all the games in US Open Cup.
I think they had like a lottery draw to get tickets for that game.
Yeah,
and they were like the stadium's like 4,000, and they had like 40,000 applications for tickets for that. Yeah, it is an event in New England soccer. It is like landmark type of US Open Cup.
I went to their first Open Cup game. They beat Lexington, I think Lexington's first year, maybe even before they played a league game, and it snowed, and I fell off the top of the bleachers with some IPAs in hand. It was a great night. Elite night all time.
Listen, in Vermont, the percentages of ABV they throw on those, it's irresponsible. It's honestly their fault.
They were like, oh, it's going to be cold. I was like, will there be beer? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I'll be fine. I'll bring a jacket and I will be fine.
I'll have an extra jacket I can purchase in venue.
And I survived. But that's going to be one of the big moments. And then obviously CCL second leg, which we're going to talk about as we go through this. We'll talk a little national team. We did a huge show, myself and Doyle, last Thursday, where we predicted what we thought would be the roster. We debated some of the big points that we're thinking about around the national team. So you can go listen to that one still as we await the roster coming out for this final March camp. And we're going to be doing a USMNT segment going forward for every Thursday show that we will be inserting as we still are waiting for Tom to come back and rejoin us, but he is still floating around reporting Ibrahim Aliyu trades that I thought he just republished from last time.
Just retweet it, just reverse retweet that thing.
It turns out you can always go home. If you're listening on Sirius Radio and we run a little bit long, you can always go find the show on demand in the Sirius player or anywhere you get your podcast listening to Soccer-Wise. But we like to start every show with the best things we saw of the weekend. And since my vision was a little blurry, we're going to start with Matt Doyle to open us up.
My vision was a little blurry after Vancouver dismantled Minnesota United 6-0, because that was like my head was swimming. The Caps were so good, and they needed to be, because they got just humiliated midweek by the Sounders in CONCACAF Cup play. So to come off of that, the Sounders basically ended the tie. Right, the Sounders went to Vancouver, won 3-0. They're not going to lose a second leg. Vancouver's continental journey is over. To come back after that and to take all of their anger and frustration out on what has been a half decent Minnesota team so far, like the levels between and the clarity and ruthlessness they played with, even without Thomas Mueller in the starting lineup, and some of it was rotated. It was really, really impressive, and I am officially changing my pick. Vancouver Whitecaps are going to win the Supporter Shield. Like, it was that level of a performance from them in this game.
Can I ask a question here? It just occurred to me as I listened to that and sort of reflected on the Whitecaps of the last, 16 months or however, 14, whatever it is. Is Jesper Sorensen the singular best personnel move? We're talking players, coaches, GMs, fill in the blank in MLS in that period of time. In fact, you could insert whatever period of time you want, because taking the Whitecaps from sort of average to below average to basically league best in this amount of time, pre-Mueller, with Mueller, is absolutely incredible. I mean, it is one of the best coaching jobs I think we've ever seen in the history of this league.
I said last year that it was the single best coaching job that I've seen in MLS, and I've watched all 30 seasons, right? Just to go from what they were to what they are now, what they became in 2025, and to do it in the face of roster makeovers, but also a mountain of injuries. Especially along that back line, he was constantly juggling and getting more out of guys like
Priso starts this game.
Yeah,
Priso starts this game.
Yeah,
and not just injuries, like existential concerns about the present and future of the club. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable what he has accomplished in Vancouver. And he is probably the reason they have Mueller as well. Like, Thomas Mueller does not go to the Vancouver Whitecaps if he watches those games and doesn't see the output and the performance and the swagger and the belief that Sorensen has injected in that team. Like, to your point, I just look at what he's done in terms of player development alone, let alone the tactical side of things. And it's astounding. Like, it's basically like, hey, imagine MLS at its best. This is what it is, in my opinion. This is what it is.
Yep. And I just hope that they're able to spin these good vibes and this incredible soccer that they're playing into a full year of it across multiple competitions. Obviously, CONCACAF Cup won't be one of them. And I hope that helps land them an owner who keeps the team in Vancouver, because it would just be heartbreaking if they end up anywhere else after this season or the next. Like that, the Caps are North American soccer, man. And this is one of the great teams that we've seen in MLS history, and one of the great coaches that we've seen in MLS history pretty clearly already. And I hope they're there for another 100 years.
Are you on Jesper's payroll? Because like, it's both the praise, but then also the bulletin board material of they won't be advancing. They have no chance to advance against the Seattle Sounders.
Just to be clear for Vancouver fans out there, I think last week we said no chance San Diego wins and no chance that Cincinnati wins. I think we dismissed them pretty quickly, and both of them went out there and won with 9 players on the field. So for Whitecaps fans, they should feel pretty good about Doyle putting the nail in the coffin as early as he has. And I will say it's
not that early. They're down 3-0. They've lost 3-0 at home.
That's fair. I will say that 3-0, it felt like the bottom came out for them for the first time really since Jesper Sorensen arrived. And while I think there's enough data points to believe in them, to have them bounce back this weekend and just be them at their best was huge. Of like, okay, there was a moment in that Seattle game where you're like, you could kind of see it fall apart because there was no expectations about this group a year and a half ago, because a lot of these guys don't have huge resumes that they've done it before, and there continue to be injuries and big pieces missing. And so there was a point in that second half of that Seattle game where I started to worry, okay, what does it look like this year for Vancouver? And I think to come back and just annihilate a team that was in Western Conference semifinals last year, and James Rodriguez made his debut down 5-0 in Major League Soccer. Welcome to the league, baby. Like his interview on the Gilbert Arena show is going to be great.
The Loons have been waiting. They were waiting for the right moment, and it arrived. It was there.
Yeah. So I think all of that, that was really big to see. So the stat that the MLS PR Blue Sky account put out was that right now, Vancouver has a +13 goal differential. It is the biggest goal differential through 4 games in MLS history. Yeah. And the second place right now is NYCFC, San Diego. All of them are tied on +8. So Vancouver has just opened up the season and just slapped everyone around, and then continued on their merry ways, which is exciting to see.
They've done it while integrating. AZ has been really, really good replacing Ali Ahmed and Javon Badwal, who was awesome. Yeah, I mean, he's been, I don't think he's a game breaker or anything, but he gives them quality minutes at 3 or 4 different spots, and is just miserable to play against. Like he's always got a foot in, and just forcing the pass backwards, forcing it, even if he's not causing a turnover, he's just taking rhythm away. Ryan Alumi hasn't, really broken out yet this year, but of the teenage center forwards in MLS, he's actually my favorite. And then remember Brian White in that first week against RSL, he missed 3 chances.
Yeah,
and it happened in CCC as well, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's finally going to happen with Brian." Now he can't miss. Now he's scoring goals left and right. But the big thing is, we heard Pat Noonan talk about it after Cincy got their asses kicked against the Revs. The movement for Cincy is not good enough. We're not coordinated. We're not. I forgot the exact words he used, but that was his point. And then you watch the Caps play, and they are who they are because of that coordinated movement. You watch them get into and out of the half spaces and collapse the opposing defense. But then they take the extra touch to bring the defense with them before playing the next pass. And it's just, it's almost like the Clockwork Orange thing that we all think of when we think of the great Dutch teams of 50 years ago. That's who the Caps are. within this structure that doesn't give anything away against the ball. Their rest defense is so good because everybody knows where they're supposed to be in relation to everybody around them. And then adding Mueller to it, who's, you know, the great space interpreter of the past 16, 17 years, has only catalyzed the whole thing. This team is really, really good. Really, really, really good.
Dave, can you do me a favor before we move on? Can you just please pronounce the Moldovan left back, 20-year-old left back that the Vancouver Whitecaps started?
Get out of my face, Wiebe. Get out of my face. I have been thinking about this, and I don't have a great answer on your, I don't know, fake thing you created around Sorensen to try and prove. I think the answers to that question alongside of it, of like immediate impact, and I was trying to think, obviously Messi. Well, I think Cucho is one where it's like you're talking MLS Cup immediate. I think Nacho Piatti is one.
Cucho missed the playoffs his first year.
I understand, but he said over what, a year and a half, 18 months, whatever the phrase we used.
Yeah. You know,
since the start of 2025.
Okay, so Cucho within that time frame was in the playoffs because he was a
Dave
summer
has
transfer.
Expanded my fake framing,
and then Nacho Piatti was
love.
Nacho Piatti was my other one. I couldn't think of another coach specifically where it's like arrived difference. And then there are a bunch of GMs, but I think those are all longer term projects.
I mean, if you're just thinking of that same
but with
time
Nance,
frame,
what are you going to say? In Columbus or in Montreal?
In either.
Yeah,
but he took two teams that were
Yeah.
disasters. The Crew had missed the playoffs 2 straight years.
Yeah.
He takes over and leads them to an MLS Cup win, 57 points, man.
Yeah. So those are the answers on that list alongside Sorensen. On that one, big week for Vancouver. We are going to talk about their CCL game to come up later in the show. For now, let's move to the next best thing we saw. Wiebe, what do you got for us?
Listen, I loved Mateusz Bogusz at LAFC, and I was sad to see him go to Liga MX. I understood why they did it, and you know the price tag was right, and the moment was right for player and club. But I was ecstatic to see him come back to Houston, and very curious to see what version of him we would get in Houston. The one that was sort of, you know, got put on the back burner at Cruz Azul, or the one that was such a game changer, particularly in transition moments for LAFC. And we got that in the 90 plus 15 or what, 105 minutes in, here comes Matty Bogusz to score the game winner for the Dynamo at home against the Portland Timbers. And I'm both ecstatic to see Bogusz doing things like that because I want to see as many good players in the right situations and thriving in the league, and also just despondent for the Timbers army in general because my God, how frustrating would it have been to watch that moment from your team? Literally 105 minutes and you get beat by the one guy that you know is going to sit back there and hit long balls in Jack McGlynn. There's no pressure on him. I understand it's late in the game. But you allow him to hit a, 70-yard ball over the top to one dude running, the dude you know who's going to be running, 2 guys on him, you get chopped up and you lose a game because of it. It was like the yin and yang of, oh, that's awesome, I love that, and oh my God, that has to just absolutely rankle that entire fan base and Phil Neville. It was 2 sides of the coin, and me personally, I love that. I love the emotional output. I love people being joyful, but I also, no offense, not as a hater, but somebody's got to be in pain when that happens. And so this was one of those MLS moments where I was like, yes, oh no. Portland are in a place, and Phil Neville keeps talking about it. They're not in rhythm. They're not playing up to their potential. And the flip side is the Houston Dynamo got something to hang their hat on.
Neville at least didn't throw the players under the bus. After this one, which was a new tack for him. He was actually mostly complimentary of his guys, and I thought, the bitter irony about them finding a way to lose this game is like I thought that they were really, really good in the first half. I went back and I watched it. He changed his pressing structure from kind of a 4-2-4 to a 4-3-3, and real strong man principles, and that really threw off the Dynamo. If you go back and you watch that half, I think every single time the Dynamo tried to build from the back, they had to play a long ball. And it was Neville's tactical choice to turn the game into a game of first ball, second ball, instead of letting it play out the way that the Dynamo, and like that was really good job by him. But then you saw the second half, like Ben Olsen made like a couple little changes.
Well, he brought Ache on at halftime.
Right, and changed to a 3-5-2, got rid of Ezekiel Ponce, which Keeping an eye on that one.
Yeah, I was going to say that feels like maybe a general statement
and
there.
Going with super mobile front two of Bogusz and I forget who else was on top.
Guillermo.
Yeah, Guillermo.
With
I took a step back and just
Nice.
let you have that one.
with an ollie like coming out of midfield.
Yeah, and Portland couldn't quite figure it out, but they still fought and they still scrapped. But then at the end, the point is like you have to have clarity in who you are as a team and how you want to get pressure to the ball. And Portland still doesn't have that. And that's what we saw on that play, Wiebe, because if you watch, like they're just kind of sitting in a block. Like Kelsey is chasing the ball without actually keeping any defenders in his cover shadow. And Felipe Moore is just trying to poach. And then the extra man that Portland has at that point is like, okay, if he's not going to be up front helping you win the ball back immediately, at least have him on the back line so you don't give up a 70-yard ball.
Good contextual point there here is that the Timbers are up a man at this point in the game.
Yeah. And the extra man is just sitting there in central midfield, and that doesn't make any sense to me at all. So even when things are going right, relatively speaking, for Portland, they're going really wrong. And I think after Oscar Pareja was dismissed last week, I mean, if you're looking at who's next on the hot seat, at this point, it probably is Phil Neville.
It was my entire Blue Sky mentions on Saturday night, like immediately after the game was like, talk about Phil Neville this weekend. And that's all from Portland fans. So we got some of it last week. We got a lot of it this week. I think we'll talk about Oscar Pareja coming up in a little bit. I think maybe some surprise how quickly that happened, which opens the door, I think, to fan bases maybe realizing that front offices are considering this stuff faster in a season than maybe anticipated. And now Portland struggles and all of that. Maybe that they feel like that's the answer. But yeah, Kelsey had come on 1 minute before that too, as like,
he had fresh legs.
Let's see if we could throw him out there. There was a lot. I mean, it was a fairly chaotic game. Veld missed a penalty, which Guerra then hit the rebound. Then Veld scores later. Then you get the red card. But Pantemis gets stepped on his head. So there's like a 15-minute segment where they're just trying to get his head to stop bleeding. It was like a bizarre game overall. But I think besides the bad Portland stuff, I think for Houston, it's good to have these positive moments. Bogusz in transition. Guillermo looks like a player when he gets guys.
He is.
When he gets guys at pace, he's really good about picking his way through defenders. Like at full speed, his stop and go is really, really good. And so when he can get up to speed down the left wing, right as he gets to the edge of the box, that's where he starts trying to beat you. And it's not a step over and explode. It's like he's quick and tactical with his movement to try and fight between
You're saying
defenders.
he's got a good hezzy? Yeah, nice little hezzy.
He does.
Imagine talking about the Houston Dynamo in this way with at least three truly elite, like in transition pace type of guys based on who this team was 2 years ago, where they didn't have that attacking pace. Like I think you have to give
Griff
credit
Dorsey.
No, fair. But you have to give credit to the front office, I think, for recognizing that like they had a big hole in terms of their ability to beat teams in open space, and they were a little one note and making some changes around that. On the flip side, you know, let's check out the Ibrahim Aliyu wingback experience as well.
So he comes back for $750,000. I didn't look this up. How much did he go for originally? We don't know. I'll look it up while you guys talk.
You know what?
About
If there was one group of people in the world that would know that off the top of their head, I
Tom's
feel like
yelling right now as he listens to this. Just like, oh, of course it's this. Of course it's this. March 12th. No, that's the one.
Now this is a race. Now this is a Google race.
Yeah. Either way, I think Houston's in trouble if Ibrahim Aliyu has anything to do with their outcomes this season, because we got a pretty solid body of evidence that he's not really an MLS caliber attacker, right? There's no end product from him. And to be fair, there hasn't been from Lawrence Anali either. And I think, you know, he kind of fell asleep a couple of times. So maybe they're looking to upgrade him, but I don't understand why. I don't understand the why of this trade. It doesn't make sense to me.
The original trade was $450 guaranteed with add-ons that could rise to $750. So it's the same trade.
Okay. Well,
so
it's $250 now. It's $250, so there's a $200,000 discount up to $750. And by God, I would love to see those. What are those performance?
For sure. You know, but still, it sounds like it's going to be in the same territory after having more data points that, as Doyle just said, is
Yeah.
probably not an MLS player.
Well, to be
I
fair,
know-
the Dynamo are in a better place game-wise now. They are. It's true. It's true.
Hard to be worse.
Yeah.
It's good to
I'm
waste
still
it, though.
like, look, this was a chaotic end and a great individual effort from Bogusz. I'm still skeptical on the Dynamo. They've won 2 out of their 3 games, but those 2 were home wins against a Fire team that is struggling and against this Portland team who we're talking about the manager maybe getting sacked.
Yeah.
So, I don't think anybody should get out over their skis too far, but it is interesting just because they've changed the formation a bit. They've changed McGlynn's role to being more of a regista rather than a number 10. And now they have this flexibility to go to sort of a 3-5-2 instead of a 3-4-2-1. And they have answers in a couple of places where I think they only had questions last year. But I need to see more before I'm truly convinced about the Houston Dynamo.
Okay, I think that's fair. Big win for them, though, anyway. Wiebe, before we move on to my stuff, do you want to talk about Walmart for a little while?
Listen, Walmart Saturday Showdown is a premier property that everybody knows and loves. And, God bless Sporting Kansas City and LA Galaxy for putting on a good game after a scoreless draw the year before. I will be magnanimous on your program, Dave. And just remind people that the Walmart Saturday Showdown will again be next Saturday. Philadelphia desperate against Chicago Fire. But I will save my takes for after your best thing because that's just this is your space.
No,
I want to respect you.
No, because I want to do this, which is I've mentioned 2 times. I'm not going to say a lot that SKC are more competent than I realize. Or
yes, I agree with that.
And as Doyle, this is what Doyle's done both times I've said.
But let's measure that. Let's measure that because the level of Doyle, you shake your head. But to me, the level of competency, maybe not competency, but ability that I saw within the group that they had put together, I thought was like very much spoon level. And it may still be. But I felt like starting the season, looking at the roster, I was like, definitely, no doubt, this is your spoon team. Now, CF Montreal, I should always have them in mind when I'm saying such things. But what I saw in this game is that there is a possibility for this team to sniff the bottom level of the playoff spots. I still don't look at them and say playoff team, but Dejan Joveljic is just clearly on a different level than I think most number 9s in this league. And then if Manu Garcia can play like that every other game even, and Lasse Berg Johnson is what they thought he was. They get another center back and they get another winger. And you see how it works. But there's only 14 games for them before the World Cup break.
Well, they've already signed a center back, an Israeli center back, I think, who's coming in the summer.
Or Blorian's coming in the summer. And then I think you should expect the U22 center back to come in the next week after talking to David Lee. That's what seemingly all the writing sort of in the sand is. Yeah, they're not terrible. They're not terrible. They're not good, but they're not terrible.
I'm going to go more ambiguous than you on standings of they are not a sieve defensively, and they are more in control and possession than I thought they'd be this year. I think for the most part across the board, it's a pretty high technical level, the group that they have. And so when they're in games, I don't think they're completely overwhelmed. I don't think there's a ton of final third quality except Joveljic, which is this weird weapon that doesn't, unlike Petar Musa, you can't tap into him and have him expand his game. So you have to provide him with those chances, which keeps you in games because you never know when he's going to pop up and score. But overall, I feel like through the middle third, this team is more entertaining to watch and more comfortable in possession than I expected.
Well, listen, I think Lasse Berg Johnson was a big difference maker in that sense. I'm not sure I agree in possession. I think they're I think they're loose with the ball. I think that they give the ball away an awful lot.
But that's fun to watch.
It's not,
Smart soccer.
Not if you're Rafa Wicky. It's not. I mean,
No,
I'm standing next to him.
But there's a reason I'm not.
And he had said before the game, this is our biggest issue. We've got to fix it. And it's well, how do you do that? They're just sped up in midfield a lot. They give the ball away in really poor positions. But Berg Johnson is going to change some of that. I felt like they did not have a player in there other than Manu, and it's why they had to drop him so much, who wanted to take responsibility for tough moments and wanted the ball, and then could actually progress the ball and stay calm and find the right moments. I think Berg Johnson changes a lot for them. I just don't. I'm still not sure if there's a ceiling on that that's above 10th in the West. But
okay. And then next week you've got Philly, Chicago, so you're back to 10th in the East on that conversation.
I mean, now it's the desperation derby, dude. The Union got to be absolute. I mean, and the Fire are a little bit in the same place on that one. Do you have any concern about the Galaxy? Like the Galaxy fans are yelling, and I think it's 2 straight losses for them, and sandwiched in between a CCL. I know how you guys do on this show. Win against what, Harborview, I think it was. Like I watched that game in Mount Pleasant. Sorry, that's on me. I knew that. Yeah. I watched that game. I think they've got the 2 concerns I would have for the Galaxy outside the obvious of Peck and Paintsel not being there, and you can't solve for that really, are I still don't think that they have like true chemistry in maybe the 2 most important partnerships on the field, which is center back and their 2 pivots. Like, and for Greg Vanney, I just feel like that is the key to everything that they want to be and do, because they want to use the ball to shift and unbalance teams and give themselves the space to change the rhythm with those difference-making players. But like, I don't see them doing that particularly effectively. I thought Justin Hack, though I really rate him, I didn't think he had a great game. And I just still think Cerrillo and to a greater extent Elijah Winder are trying, or Sanabria or whoever it is that they play back there, are trying to find that rhythm and that balance and that ability to sort of play together and be a partnership that advances the ball into really effective spots.
I don't think they even know what their partnerships are or are supposed to be at this point. And to be fair to the Galaxy, they were coming off a midweek game, and I wrote about it in my column on Tactics Free Zone, saying like try not to read too much into these bad performances from certain CCL teams, because March soccer has a tendency to lie to us. That said, the Galaxy, the 2 goals they gave up in this one came from their rest defense, came from not having guys in the correct support positions in case a turnover happens. And turnovers happen on most passing sequences, right? The vast majority of sequences in soccer end in the turnover. What do you do then? Are you in position to actually at least turn it sideways, man? Don't let them play vertical. And the answer too often for the Galaxy for years now has been no. And it's been personnel agnostic. And it was, I think, a little bit worse in this one because it was a new pairing on the back line. And, I think they it may be a little bit of a trap game, Sporting Kansas City at home. So they were kind of throwing numbers forward, especially out wide. And then I think they got frustrated because they were creating good chances. They weren't just finishing them. So there was a lot of stuff adding up. But it just fundamentally, structurally, I do not think this team looks like what we were talking about with Vancouver, how they can be a possession team and be really adventurous with the ball and turn it over, but then they immediately get pressure to it and either win it back, in best case, win it back and go again, or at least turn it sideways and don't let the opposition jam the ball down their throat. The Galaxy have not solved for that under Greg Vanney.
I think I had the Galaxy preseason 9th in the West, so I don't feel worried because this is kind of where I thought it would all be. We'll talk about them a little bit more when we get to CONCACAF coming up in a little. My best thing I saw, FC Dallas, baby. Go and win a game, Eric Quill. Came out the gates, pressed high on San Diego, tried to impose Dallas on the game, and it was pretty much the polar opposite of the game against LAFC last week. I thought they played well against LAFC and should have probably gotten a result out of it. It felt like it was going to be the same this week. I thought they played well, and it felt like the chances they missed, they hit the post, all this stuff that it was going to be they should get a result out of this one. They end up stealing the tie and they get it at 3-3. They went down 2-0 and 3-1 and fought their way back to a 3-3 draw. But formation change for Quill. He flipped the wing backs twice during the game, like for the start and then in the middle. So showing a little bit of creativity, showing a little bit of flexibility and empowering Musa. Like I think you could see it in the first goal he scored, in the celebration, the reaction. It's just like he's got numbers high up the field around him. There was a lot for him to do. He's engaged in the press. They went and played arguably the best team in Major League Soccer, definitely the best team in possession, and they decided we're going to press high, we're going to condense the field, and we're going to try and win it in their third and try and create chances rather than sit in and try and survive against this team. That's not something Eric Quill has done his entire time as head coach. It's not something they've done successfully at all. And so to see them have a couple different options, and it just felt good emotionally to watch them impose themselves on a game and say, this is how we're going to go out there and win it, rather than we can survive and then Musa can score in a game. And so it was a big result for me, for a team that I was pretty high on, and a player in Petar Musa that his MVP campaign is rolling along.
Impose Dallas ought to be Eric Quill's like rallying cry. Impose Dallas. Go impose it. Gotta love it.
Baby.
Do we think that this was indicative of a philosophical shift that we're going to see from Dallas over the course of the season, or do we think this was opportunistic, knowing that San Diego were coming off of a bloodbath against Toluca, knowing that Yepi Sherzkov was not in the starting lineup for San Diego, and my God, did he make a difference in the effectiveness of Dallas's press in the second half, and also, trying to integrate Valiente, who he works really hard for a 10, but he has not done anything particularly special yet as a 10.
Yeah, I think it was opportunistic. But I'm fine with that, which is have this club in your bag and use it at the times you're going to use it. But last year, we wouldn't have thought that they'd even think of this. And so I'm okay with that. It was like the 5-4-1 with the 2 holding mids and then 2 sort of 10s underneath Musa, which I think works for Valiente. He's more connected. Like, he moves the ball quickly. He'll get off his foot. He'll connect. As you said, if you get him in open space, it doesn't feel like he'll kill you. So the entire build of the game is not, can we get him isolated and create the game? But I think it keeps the game moving quickly in those areas. And then you see that lets a Kumungo and Johansson get higher up the field and just be in more dangerous areas. And I think that's kind of a good option for them to have going forward. But I would still start Farrington. And my guess would be that they will play behind the ball most of the games, most of this season, but I think they're good at that too. So it's not a negative thing, but it's good to see that they have sort of this option if they want to.
Why am I not offended by Dallas spending so much time playing behind the ball? Like, what makes them more attractive to watch than so many of the essentially bunker and counter teams that we've seen over the, is it just that Musa and I know Farrington didn't start this one, but Musa and Farrington together are so much like, is that it? Is it Kumungo and whoever happens to be playing right wing back? Is it that they can unleash it? And Kumungo did like a Vinny Jr. type of thing on the equalizing goal. Like, why like, does it not set off like all my alarms from an aesthetic sense when I watch this team play, unlike say like Gary Smith era Nashville, or Dean Smith, era Charlotte.
Did Gary Smith? I mean, did you feel that way immediately, or was it an overtime thing?
Because I think overtime thing.
Yeah. So like sometimes at the beginning, right, you can accept it, especially because early days of Quill and Quill's attitude seems to sort of permeate through, and you're like, yeah, we're gonna. Come at us. We're in the bunker. We're fighting.
We're just gonna wear hats.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Over here.
Yeah. I just shout out to Kalen Carr for this absolute fire. But yeah, I think it's an overtime
Wiebe,
thing.
you will love that in the chat. Someone said, "Was Wiebe even conceived in 1994?"
I was 8 years old in 1994.
People think you're young.
God bless. I don't know how they think that when I come in on this show every time with like bags the size of this hat under my eyes, but hey.
So I will say, I think part of it is Dallas are entertaining in possession because they are clean and a lot of their players are individually dangerous. And so it doesn't just feel like defend and dump balls or defend and have set pieces. Like, when they have their moments, it's fun to watch. And when they have their moments, there is quality there on one side. On the other side, my frustration sits with the ownership of like, this team's being cheap. This is a good team if you go and spend. So I don't have frustration with Quill. Like, I think he's doing the right thing inside of his role. And I don't have frustration with the players who are underperforming. Like, I think that part disconnects me a little more, where some of the teams you just named, it was like, no, there's talent there, and you're choosing not to use it in ways that could be more entertaining.
Is this any different? A little different. Is this any different? Like, Petar being sort of the sun in the universe within Dallas versus like early days Nashville with Hani as that guy? Like, what's the difference? Actually, Petar is more expensive. Petar had a better resume. I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but.
You're saying
that Dax McCarty in central midfield is like, those are ballers.
Yeah, fair. They went and got Walker Zimmerman. Yeah, they're ballers, but they weren't like, those guys were TAM players. Like, it's not like they were huge international signing DP.
No,
like we went out and dropped $5 million on
Let
them.
them use the ball. Don't be low block the whole. And I don't want to
okay.
relitigate
So
2020
see
with
what you're
Nashville,
saying.
but-
Also after 3 years, when you've had some level of success, how is it going to graduate? How's it going to continue to move on? Which I think if Eric Quill's doing this in 3 years and there's quality there, then maybe there's a little bit of frustration on that one. Okay. Enough on Dallas and Nashville in 2019. And we can move here.
You don't want to hit Sam Sarver's pregame fit?
No.
Okay.
Before we let Wiebe go, Wiebe had he really wanted to do some US Open Cup preview action for us. And I think you've watched a lot of tape.
Oh, just
and you put in a lot of grind.
Yeah,
and what you
grinded
wanted
tape.
to do was present us with the most interesting matchups based off names that you've never heard of before. So
or heard of him. I'm just absolutely glad to see them again in the U.S. Open Cup, which is just a top tier competition that we know and love. So if you're just running through it, I like the South Georgia tournament against FC America CFL Spurs. Like FC America CFL Spurs, I know nothing of this club, but the idea that we would tie all those letters together and throw America and Spurs into it is brilliant. Also, I don't know. I'm on MLSsoccer.com. It says if necessary.
Just to be clear, by the
means.
way, that's a game that won't be occurring because South Georgia Tormenta went
Yeah,
under 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
so it's an official victory.
Even better.
Exists.
It's an official victory for
my guys, FC America
Yeah.
CFL Spurs with a huge victory, non-victory there as well. I am delighted to see Aztec FC in here taking on Colorado Springs. That is wonderful. I would also throw in just the fact that we have a team called Florida Badgers.
Yeah, that's a great name.
FC, and they will be playing at Patriots Point Soccer Stadium. Listen, go America on that one. Red Force FC.
Red Force seems to be using River Plate's shield, so
Correct.
my guess is it has some connection there.
Listen, your guess is as good as mine on that one. BOHFS St. Louis. Bofa St. Louis is that's a positive one for me against Union Omaha. I would also throw in Cruisers FC with a Z.
Yeah, have to have the Z.
Yeah, really like that one as well. And then I'd probably finish you off with Orange County against just Laguna. That just feels extremely fitting to me, and I welcome El Farolito back to the competition. We love them, we know them well. The fact that they got Sacramento Republic at this stage is also
straight out the gate.
And
absolutely
giant killers, man. They can do it.
Absolutely
They've done it
delightful.
before.
So I want to see how that one goes down. But I'm looking forward to some scintillating U.S. Open Cup action, and I have to say goodbye because producer Rich is yelling at me to come do instant replay. So check that out on Apple TV and YouTube, and yell at me in my comments.
All right, thanks, Wiebe.
As always, thanks, boys. See ya.
For Open Cup, we've got some coverage we're going to be doing at Kickback. As I said, I went through and built out the best amateur runs that we've seen in U.S. Open Cup history. Obviously, El Farolito are a major part of that. The big matchups that we've circled that are must watch from a neutral point of view, there's a Pittsburgh derby. So Steel City, who plays their games at the Pittsburgh Riverhounds Stadium, are playing against the Riverhounds in this first round. I mentioned off the top, Vermont, Portland is going to be a huge one. It's the first time those teams have ever matched up. Vermont, the first time they played an Open Cup, Portland had not launched yet. And then last year, Portland ended up going on a pretty nice run before they'd ever even played a league game. They got their first Open Cup victory. And I think they knocked off Rhode Island, which was the League One championship upset. And then El Farolito, Sacramento was the other one that we had circled as, if you don't have a team in this and you're saying, what are the games I should watch? Those are probably the three that I would put at the top of the list. Virginia Dream, Carolina Core, another one as well. Virginia Dream, it's a really cool team. They have a really cool background, so I'd say go look it up and learn a little bit about them. But we're going to talk Open Cup on Thursday as well, as we sort of like go through everything, review it, and then obviously CONCACAF is happening at the same time. So the next few nights from 6 p.m. through 1 a.m. on the East Coast, at least, you've got soccer everywhere you can find it. And Kickback on socials, Blue Sky, Instagram, everywhere is the place to follow it. If you don't already, you can subscribe to our Patreon, get you access to our Discord as well. Let's talk about some of the other big headlines from the weekend before we move into CONCACAF talk. And I want to start with the winless runs. We mentioned Philly a little bit there, Doyle. St. Louis and Columbus as well. Some of the big teams that have failed to win a single game so far this season. What do you make of these three squads, and sort of how worried are you?
So St. Louis, we knew this was going to be a rebuilding year. Um, and I've seen some good stuff from them in terms of like how they want to use the ball and
Mm-hmm.
how they want to get into the final third. The lack of top end quality in the final third is it really has been too much to overcome through 4 games. I think we saw that a lot in on first kick when they just completely overwhelmed Charlotte and got 1 goal at one point out of it. Like that was a game they should have won 3-1 or 4-1. But it did, like, there were some glimmers of hope when Brendan McSorley and then Mekhi Joyner got on for like late cameos, and suddenly they could, do some stuff. So hopefully Yon Demay has given the holdovers a chance, and they have not taken it. So let's see the guys who have been really good in the lower tiers. And then the other part with St. Louis is Falou Fall and Mamadou Mbake Fall haven't gotten on the field together yet. And the hope is once they do, that will give this team a different dimension against the ball, and especially on set pieces. I think they're a little worse in terms of results than I expected, but they're about what I thought they would be in terms of process, which is a little bit promising, other than the annoying thing about Joyner not playing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think there are ideas. I think the ideas are clearly being communicated to the players. I think the players are picking up on it, and they seem engaged and wanting to be a part of it. But you could argue that the 3 to 5 best players on this team haven't really played this season. And then I think you would argue they didn't even sign what should be their 1 or 2 top end players. And that goes, I think, back to what Wiebe mentioned with SKC of the way this season is set up. It is okay to put down building blocks the first half of the year, make the signings in the summer around the World Cup, and then come out of the World Cup break where the majority of games will still occur and potentially put on a playoff push. If you're a team like St. Louis, who came in a little bit later, front office new, coach new, and didn't want to panic move into, here's the big TP that we're building this whole thing around 2 weeks into us being here, it opens that door. They need to get some results to like be alive and be coherent and have some belief. And back to like the Thomas Mueller and Vancouver thing of like, put some stuff on tape for the recruits you want to be like, yeah, I want to be a part of this and I want to go there. And obviously the stuff going on with Edward Leuven, and our hearts go out for him and his wife passing away after the long fight she's had. Like, all this is non-soccer stuff that you just can't even calculate for and you can't even figure out. And so there's a lot happening. But I think coming out of all of that, you look at it and you say, I can see a soccer team here. I can see ideas, and that's sort of where you can believe that it could get better going forward.
Yeah, they haven't looked helpless. They've been frustrating because the execution in attack has just not been good enough. But that's kind of what we thought the story would be. With Columbus, it's go ahead.
I was just gonna say, before we move on, if you're listening to Sirius Radio, you're gonna leave us, so you're gonna have to come back and go find the show on demand, as we're gonna talk about Columbus, Philadelphia, and CONCACAF right now, and you can get us rolling through that.
Yeah, I wrote a bit about Columbus for my column for the newsletter this weekend, and it's so disappointing because for 3 years this was, to me, the most attractive team in the league. I think they're the most aesthetically appealing team in MLS history. They won with it. I think it was 57, 66, and 54 points over the past 3 years, and did that while changing personnel a bunch. Won MLS Cup, won Leagues Cup, made CONCACAF Cup final, finished second in the sport. Like, it worked. And part of the idea behind signing or replacing Nancy with Henrik Rydström is that he was close enough in philosophy so that he wouldn't change too much. He would take it, and there would be some adjustments. And I think that's every coach's right, and that's what you should want. But man, he's changed a lot. They played this weekend in a flat 4-4-2 against Nashville's backups. Diego Rossi, for some reason, playing as like a ball progressing right midfielder, so like completely taking him out of the kitchen. And when it comes to partnering Wissam Abu Ali and creating anything, it was the worst attacking performance I've seen from Columbus in years. And like, I can't remember.
And obviously talent, we've talked about this, is a huge shift. First game, but like Andres Gomez is a huge addition in this league. Like, that's a big time name to go get. So they're still investing in this thing, which adds pressure, but also should have an answer at some point that it becomes competitive again.
You would think, and I mean, to be fair, they were competitive in this game, but not
Against
good.
a rotated Nashville team that just
Uh-huh.
played CCC, that like is not really the bar.
Yeah, and as soon as Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surridge and Andy Nahar came off the bench,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it was entirely one-sided, but it was clear who the better team was. The team with actual attacking ideas, ideas of how to move both on and off the ball in a way to create chances, which ended up winning them the game deep into second half stoppage. And it's, look, I mentioned it with the Rossi thing. Like, he doesn't fit if you're going to play him at right midfield, and that's arguably your best player.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? But it's also, by going to a flat back four, you have Steven Moreira playing as just like a generic center back in a two, and you take away his ability to get on the ball and either over or underlap and initiate the types of attacking movements that made the Crew so good and so much fun to watch. And then on top of it, I think the structure is gone, right? Like, they don't rotate behind the ball into the sort of 3-2-5 setup, so they're not as good against the ball as they used to be. They end up getting bunched up in, you know, little corners of the pitch in a way where it's just like one ball over the top and or, you know, one diagonal, and it's off to the races. And that lost them the game back on week one against the Timbers. It's a lot. It's a lot of changes from a coach who I think was not hired to make a lot of changes. I think he was hired to like minimally adjust, but keep the sort of through line, and the through line has disappeared.
Yeah. It is worrying, I think, right now for this Columbus team. It's hard to see the obvious way that it turns around. Andres Gomez just coming in could be that as he settles in and gets connected, but it feels like parts that don't exactly fit together. And then on the Philadelphia side, they go down to Atlanta, so they helped Atlanta get off this list. So congratulations to Philly for being an impact in this. I watched the first half live, went back and watched the rest of it. Philadelphia just looked like they were on their heels. Like, Atlanta dictated the game. They attacked them, and we've seen that a bit from Atlanta here and there, and then there's not that final third quality, and there's not that last burst, and that's been their problem. But it felt very passive from a Philadelphia team, and it feels like a group that they don't have overwhelming talent. They never have, but even less now, and some of the pieces still trying to fit in, and it's hard to see in the, like, cloud that this club is in right now what the direction forward is right after having won a huge trophy.
Yeah, I don't think they're as bad as they looked in this game. I think it's
how many weeks are we allowed to say that?
Yeah, right.
How many times do you check through that?
But like, we watched them against Club America midweek in that CCL game, and they actually outplayed Club America for most of that game. They just didn't have the final third quality to turn that into goals and assists. And I think that is going to be the story of the Philadelphia Union's 2026 season. Like, they're going to have more, you know, acceptable performances than outright bad ones. They just got rid of their best chance creator and their best goal scorer and their best defensive organizer and their best attacking super sub. And now their coach is refusing to play the young guys who might end up trying to, or, you know, being an answer to fixing that. And that is a pretty bad stew. What we saw in this game, I think, was just, you know, shoulders slumped, heads down after the really frustrating result at home against Club America. What has to happen now is Bradley Carnell has to make sure that this doesn't become, well, it's already a nosedive. Like, it doesn't, it can't go into like full tailspin.
Yeah.
If it does that, this team doesn't have the talent to pull themselves out of it. All of this is happening within the macro picture of the fans should just be furious at the way this club is run.
Yeah.
Right. It was an unserious
on multiple
off-season.
levels.
Yeah. Yes. But it was like an unserious offseason if the idea was to build on the supporter shield victory and actually compete for a cup. If that was the goal, you don't sell Ty Baribo, you don't sell, trade, whatever, Jakob Glesnes, and you make Kai Wagner an offer that he can't refuse. He has been your best chance creator for 5 years. He is virtually irreplaceable. If you want to hoist a cup, then you keep that guy. And the fact that they got rid of all three of those guys, I don't care that they then took the money and reinvested, because we know they're only reinvesting so that they can sell. If Alado scored 15 goals by June, they would sell him in July. Like, that is just who they are as a club. So it was a finger in the eye to the fan base, and the Union are not as bad as they looked, but they're not good.
Okay, let's talk Orlando here, because we haven't really talked about Oscar Pareja and the situation there since it happened, because we recorded our U.S. show right as it was occurring, and we haven't been back on since. Orlando City, they were on this list. They opened up the year with 3 straight losses, getting smoked at home by the Red Bulls, the 2-0 lead against Inter Miami that falls apart to the 4-2 loss, and then the Crepeau red card at NYCFC in the 19th minute, and they lost 5-0. So off the back of that, Oscar Pareja was let go from this club after 4 years as head coach for this team. He made the first playoff appearance. He won the first trophy for this team. They hosted an Eastern Conference Finals last year. They hosted that US Open Cup final. Any moment of history that doesn't have Kaká has Oscar Pareja connected to it for this club. He is no longer a part of it. They've, for now, elevated Martin Perelman, who was the 2 coach who became Oscar's assistant, to interim manager. He got them a victory over Montreal. So I don't know. Maybe it's like, hey, Montreal's coming up.
Yeah.
We're going to get a win here. Let's fire Oscar now, and then we'll get the win under the new head coach, if that was part of the thinking. But starting first, I think, is like big picture what's going on with this team, because as I said, Pareja is a giant in their history. He is a big-time MLS head coach, and moving on from him is like a huge statement from the front office. Ricardo Moreira now officially in charge of that, which he hadn't been up until this offseason. It's a big step for this club.
It is, and I think it's of a piece with what we've seen from them over the past year, because they moved on from Luis Muzi as CSO. It's why Ricardo Moreira is now the guy calling the shots. They've moved on from a ton of that roster. Cesar Araujo, a big part of it. Luis Muriel, not that that was the wrong decision, but selling Alex Freeman, and it's just been a lot of turnover. And eventually, it was going to get to the coach. I do suspect that this was, we always see mutual parting of the ways. I think this was mutual. I think Oscar had run his race in Orlando and wanted out, and I think that means we're headed into a new era. I mean, very obviously, we're headed into a new era with this team, and I don't think the ceiling is particularly high, though they did play well the first 30 minutes against Montreal. They just then immediately shut up, shop and just try to hold on to a 1-goal lead at home against one of the worst teams in the league. And like that, I didn't find it a particularly inspiring performance or a compelling case that this team is going to be back above 50 points this year.
It's, and you bring in an interim who is in-house, who is the assistant. Everyone who's like deep cut Orlando people, I did a couple of his MLS Next Pro games. They know the scores on those games are crazy. So there is a little bit of a difference there from Oscar really wants to keep games controlled, as we've seen over the last few years with Orlando, to these things might open up and we might get some 5-3 and 3-2s and all of that. And that could be a shift. But to me, this is like okay, can we do a warning shot across the bow for the players that like, this is for real and we're not messing around. And then you're going out and you're trying to find the next guy, where immediately people start bringing up Jim Curtin and Wilfred Nancy. And I don't feel like Orlando's in that ballpark at all for guys like that.
I mean, maybe if part of the pitch to Nancy is like, not just Antoine Griezmann, but like, we will give you a strong say over the roster. And like that would, I mean, he'd probably listen to that, but I don't think Nancy wants to come back to MLS. I think he wants to be in Europe, obviously try to redeem himself after everything that happened with Celtic. Turns out coaching a team in a league, guys who can't trap or pass the ball is not going to be super conducive to Wilfried Nancy's style of play.
The Dundee derby was on at the bar on yesterday. Dundee United against Dundee. I don't know what the other team is. I walked in, it was on every TV. I was like, what is happening right now? Like, did someone just sit on the remote, or is there like a diehard Dundee United fan in here?
I don't know that, like, Jim Curtin turned down Atlanta, and we know what their budget is. I don't know that he would move to Florida for this opportunity.
I think it's just if you put the echelon of teams in the leagues, I think I flipped. I should have put an S on the other thing.
That's fine. You're powering through it. I'm impressed.
My point, like, even if, let's say, those things weren't a factor, like, let's say Nance was like, I want a job right now, and if it's an MLS, I don't care. And let's say Jim Curtin said, I am ready to move and take a job. I don't think Orlando sits there.
Correct.
So I don't think it's unattractive. They have invested in the roster. They have their own facilities. They have their own building. They have a pathway. Like, it is not, I'm just going to say Colorado, which is, they're playing in a different, unfortunate, like, shallow end when they're looking for coaches and hence giving guys first opportunity. But I don't know that that's where Orlando is. Like, I think Orlando is probably, if we were to put them as team specific, would sit like somewhere between 7 and 12 in terms of attractive job and ambitious club and all of that.
Lower than that, right?
You think even outside the 10 to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's like, that's the part that's really hard now to put your finger on. The Felipe Luis rumor started immediately because he is from Brazil, where Ricardo Pereira has signed 3 players from in his one window. I actually covered some of his GA Cup teams for Flamengo when he was first started coaching. He obviously has a crazy resume as a player with Atletico Madrid, with Brazil, with Flamengo as well. And we've seen, I think, example, Matt Wells, of like young coaches who are looking for opportunity. They see MLS as attractive. A big reason why is there's no relegation. And young coaches are like, if I have ideas, I can go try them, because if I lose, it's not ideal, but I can still keep the job. And so it has become a place that people know that, and there's connections to Liga MX, which is some bigger money. If that's where you want to go, there is clearly a bit of a pathway to Europe, whether that has been bricked off or not.
Maybe not anymore.
I'm unsure of. Would your assumption be that Orlando probably plays out the rest of the year with this interim coach?
I think I will give it to the World Cup break.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of things are going to be up in the air after the World Cup. Like, it's going to be changes, globally in terms of who is available, both in terms of players and coaches. So I think Martin Perlman is coaching for a full-time job right now, and I think they're going straight into the wood chipper now. I think their next 3 games are like Nashville, LAFC, and somebody else good, something like that. So he could prove a lot, but he's going to have to keep proving it because I assume ownership and Ricardo Moreira will be interested in some of those Felipe Luis level, or maybe slightly smaller than that level guys who are available.
Potched Orlando in the chat right now, which is perfectly timed. That's great. Okay, so we're going to talk about CONCACAF coming up. Before we get there, I want to talk a little USMNT. We're going to be doing this every Monday, just quick hits on what we've seen from the weekend. We're obviously still waiting on the roster, so that's going to be the big decision maker of who's had good weekends or not, because who gets themselves on that is going to be the real option. But we mentioned Alex Freeman in this, and I think that's one of the big names. Gets a start or gets off the bench, for Villarreal, gets game time. He's played 27 minutes since he had gotten
something
there
like that,
before this. And I think a lot of the reaction we got to our show, which I don't disagree with, is like Alex Freeman probably has a spot, whether it's at right center back, right wing back, or the first one off the bench at those 2 spots. So everything he has to do now is like to not lose it. And the little moments of just getting playing time are probably going to be enough in such a short window for him to maintain that, if that feels right to you too.
Yeah, no notes. That's it. That's the exact same thing with Alex Freeman. I'm glad he got those minutes in a win. I think he was on the field for Pepe's goal, or rather in a draw. He was on the field for Pepe's goal. That was important, and hopefully just keeps growing into his role. If that happens, even if he's not a full-time starter, if he's just like the 14th guy,
Yeah.
that's good enough for him, I think, to keep his spot in the U.S. hierarchy.
One who's not going to lose their spot, but was a promising one to see is Christian Pulisic. Went the full 90. He has struggled for goal contributions, whether assists or goals, over the last few weeks into months. But he has also not gotten the full 90 minutes in terms of trust and support and all of that, and being central to a lot of things. We've seen frustration from him when he's come off a number of times over the last few weeks. So Doyle, just promising to see him at least get the game time, if not the goals.
Yeah, first step. Hopefully I mean, I don't care. As long as he's healthy, come June, I'm gonna be okay with it. We know that Christian Pulisic is going to start for the U.S. men's national team. Maybe he's saving all those goals for the World Cup. I would be totally fine with that outcome.
And the other obvious one to me was Diego Luna, which is similar to Freeman. We said, like, he is ahead of people because of his relationship and what he's done for Poch and what he's meant to the team, but he hadn't played yet. So just coming back, he appeared off the bench for RSL in the 2-1 win for them. That's a big moment for him, which probably puts him on this roster, which gives him that last opportunity to show off in person.
Yeah, I think he's already in the World Cup squad. We talked about this because his well, first of all, he produces goals and assists, right? Like, I think he's the second leading goal contributions under Pochettino, and that's not something you turn your nose up at. But also just what he represents culturally. When Pochettino was trying to get these guys to start fighting again, and not in the Tim Weah at Copa America way, but actually, you know, leaving it all out there on the field. What Luna did, I think, signaled a shift in the team, and I don't think. Like, I think he's clearly one of Pochettino's guys because of that. And so having a little injury wasn't going to keep him out. But it's very nice to see him back. And hopefully he plays 35 minutes next week, and then hopefully he can go in these friendlies. Also,
the kids are all right. Another win for RSL. Maybe not totally down to the kids. Big goal for the new addition in Spearings. Like, never looks at goal, never really shifts his body. The shot comes out of nowhere, but from
he
25 yards out, it was like really, really impressive. And it was one of those moments where you like sit up when it happens. You're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And that was his debut for the team, so it'll be big to see him.
And one of the things that we saw from RSL, and I know we're going off script a little bit here, but
this is where we want to be.
We saw from RSL is they're definitely more comfortable using the ball, and sort of these long, buildups that aren't necessarily reliant on long balls or switches, which has been Pablo Mastroeni's MO for the whole time he's been there. Is like he wants to switch the field of play. They hit more long balls than almost anybody. Now, I looked at the data, and the data says they're still hitting a lot of long balls, right? Yeah. So it's not like a complete, they haven't completely divorced themselves from who they have been, and I think that's good. What's better is that you can see structure within how they're using the ball when they are keeping it short and sort of up, back, through, but in smaller places than what we're used to. And I think that's going to play really well to Diego Luna's strengths. And I'm hoping that that reveals itself really, really quickly, because it would be nice to have one of our attacking midfielders getting on the ball a ton, creating chances, putting the ball in the back of the net.
Let's jump into CCL before we get out of here. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we've got games. We have obviously away goals count in CONCACAF still. So all of those goals from the first leg, massively important. Any goal scored in the second leg totally shifts the ties for these away teams. Let's just go through them one by one. Let's start Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, opening game, Alajuelense against LAFC. We knew it wouldn't be easy, but Alajuelense, the goal again out of nowhere in that first leg, and LAFC now are up against it going to Costa Rica.
Yeah, they got to go to Costa Rica and get either a scoring draw and then win in penalties, or a 1-1 draw and then win in penalties, or a win, or a 2-2 or 3-3 draw gets them through. They should do it, right? And we've already seen them go on the road in Central America and get a big win. It was 6-0 at Real España, or 6-1.
They also won at Alajuelense last time they went there, and then they lost at home to Alajuelense and got through on the tie. It was just reversed, where it was first leg away, second leg home.
But they LAFC have not looked good now for like 3 or 4 straight games. They have
Yeah.
looked leggy. And you go back to that after that 6-1 win in Honduras, the fact that Son and Buonga and Eustachio started the second leg, I still can't wrap my head around that. Like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
And I know, like, okay, Jeremy Abogasi still hasn't been able to play yet, so you have a little less depth than you did. But like,
You had a 5-goal lead. Who cares?
You have 5-goal lead. You have Nathan Ordaz. You had Amin Boudry. You had David Martinez. Get Jude Terry out there. Like,
Yeah.
And so I think we're already seeing the grind of multiple competitions wear LAFC down a little bit. And I hope that this sounds stupid 36 hours from now. I hope that they go down to Alajuelense and they win 3-0, which they are capable of. But I'm telling you, man, Son has looked his age, right? And Denny Bouanga has looked, he struggled a little bit to find chances out of, from possession. And that doesn't bode great for what's coming this week and maybe even into the future.
The one positive for them is 4 shutouts across 4 MLS games. First team to do that in league history. If the defense holds up, you would assume you're going to score a goal at a minimum. Like, this team has too much firepower normally not to. And so it creates a game state where the opportunity to go on the road in Central America and get a result is there, but it is going to be really, really difficult. Alajuelense is going to be not only clearly up for the game we saw in the first leg, like there's not a lot of intimidation. This atmosphere is going to be nuts. It's one of the best home atmospheres in Costa Rica. And it's going to be the biggest game of the year for them as they are clearly leading in the table. They're going to win the championship. And so this is their big chance to knock off a team with World Cup veterans and all this type of stuff coming down. And I think there's a ton of belief that they can do it. So that one sits at 1-1 right now. Cruz Azul Monterrey is going to be the second game that night, 3-2 lead for Cruz Azul. And then Wednesday, we got 4 games on the docket, all 4 with MLS teams. We start with the all MLS clash, Miami versus Nashville, 7 p.m. Eastern time at 0-0. You kind of mentioned, felt like Miami's through. I don't agree with that at all. And I will say,
I'm not going to say it feels like they're through, but I thought that Nashville were the favorites entering into this series, and they were poor last week and got that scoreless draw, and that worries me given the history between these two teams.
So speaking of like lineup decisions, BJ Callahan has rotated this team to start this year with 2 competitions, and he clearly has partnerships that he likes where it's, okay, we're going to rotate both center mids, then we're going to rotate both forwards, then we're going to rotate both. Like, it doesn't feel like it's 1-1 here and there. And I think he's done it well, which clearly they're first in the East right now. They are alive in this series. And I wonder if this is the time where it's like, well, now we got to pull the band. Like, now we got to go all in. It's got to be your best team on Wednesday night in this game. And that's where I think there's a bunch of confidence, which is the moment those guys came on the field against Columbus, the game started flowing. And like Christian Espinoza, no look layoffs, running into space.
Those guys were on the field last week in a scoreless draw against Miami.
Cochran was in, Tag Seth didn't start. Like, it was not their full starting team. And I think they were missing a little bit of pop in that middle area that they can play off of. But it will also be fascinating because you assume Miami has most of the ball in this. Do you sit and counter?
Miami's fully rested. Miami sent their next pro team to Charlotte and got a point,
which they got to now pay for because so many people bought tickets. Narrative.
And Messi doesn't rest, right? So this gives you an idea of how seriously they're taking it and how badly they want it. And by the way, their defense has actually been pretty good since that 3-0 against LAFC in week 1. So they have figured some stuff out. What they haven't figured out is the attack. Like the balance is off. Bertarame has not really contributed much. Messi is shifting from one spot to another. They try, Javier Mascherano's trying to unlock everything. Yannick Bright has really struggled on the ball. And I thought this weekend was David Ayala's chance to to say no, actually I should be doing this job, and he did not make a compelling case for that. Now granted, he was surrounded by children, so it was not the easiest thing in the world. So they're like the answers or the questions that we thought they were going to have, they still have them. They also still have Messi in a game he really cares about, and he's rested. I have a tough time picking against that.
Yeah, I'm stoked for this game. It was dampened a bit last week with the way that game played out, where I was stoked for the series.
Right.
I'm still going to keep my hopes up. The second game after this one is Club America hosting Philadelphia at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Club America leading 1-0. As you said, Philly played pretty well in that first leg, but I said it going into last week. Club America plays poorly on the road in international competition, and they normally, you say, oh, it's actually more open than or this tie's closer than I thought, and then they normally go home and win.
Yeah, this feels like Philly is going to come out with their hair on fire for the first 25, 30 minutes, pressing everything, and it'll be 0-0 and be like, Philly has a chance. And then Club America is going to get one, and the floodgates are all going to open, and it's 3-0 or 4-0.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even be shocked if it's like, okay, 2-1, we felt like Philly was in it, but they were never really going to win this. Now, if we're wrong, it would be epic, because going and beating Club America on the road is as big a thing as you can do. Seattle, Vancouver, the next game at 11 p.m. Eastern time alongside Toluca versus San Diego. Seattle leading 3-0. All three are away goals, so they would have to lose by 3 goals. And anything from 4-1 up, they would lose the tie. That feels somewhat unlikely. I will say what's fun is this game's in Spokane. It's the first game for Seattle to play there as a home team because they're laying the grass down at Lumen Field. Seattle Reign will play a bunch of games there, be pre-World Cup as well. So I think that will just be a fun little quirk that like I'm here to tune into, although I'll be watching 900 Open Cup games at the same time. And I will probably be mainly focused on Toluca, San Diego, which it's 3-2 coming into this one, or is it 3-1?
3-2. It's 3-2, but 2 red cards, one to Ingvartsen, which I don't think is a big deal, and then but the one to Dua is I'm so impressed by everything San Diego's done. I cannot imagine a world in which they go to Toluca, which is what, 8,500 feet above sea level.
Highest one, I think, in Mexico. It's the highest home stadium in Mexico, I think.
Yeah, and without Manu Dua, and they come out of there with a result that will see. Like, I just cannot conceive of that happening.
Do you have an idea of what they do at center back?
Honestly, no.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's one of the things that I can't tell if it's someone gets converted in there. Like, if there's an idea of like, do you play Annabelle Godoy in there or something like that? Or then it's, do you go down the list and is Ian Pilcher playing in there? Like, I'm not really Manu Dua has been a constant. Chris McVeigh has been a constant. Like, it hasn't really been a position that they've rotated a ton as they've been. The other issue is
so they do have the Danish kid.
Yeah.
Oswald. So I don't even know how you say his last name.
He looked awkward this weekend. He is tall in a way that doesn't look like a soccer player. And when they built through him, he looked very uncomfortable, especially when he was getting pressured.
Yeah. And then, I think Kieran Sargent could play there, but he's got a knock. Obviously, Andres Reyes is not, a going concern. Maybe Pilcher sliding in to play alongside McVeigh, who was rested, by the way. McVeigh only played the final 20 minutes, and I think that's, there are obvious reasons why. Andres Dreyer was rested as well. So, they're going to have some firepower, but they're going to have some questions, and they're going against what I think is the best team on the continent. So, good luck.
Of note for Toluca, Marcel Ruiz came off injured in the CONCACAF game, did not play this weekend. Is probably the best player on this Toluca team. I think I'm seeing reports out there, worries that he'll even make the World Cup now. Like, it could be pretty bad. So that's a huge factor in central midfield. But Alexis Vega, who didn't start on in the last game while he's coming back from injury, got the full 90 on the weekend. So that's a huge piece to their attack that wasn't available, that is for this game. And we have not seen San Diego be put into this experience. Like, Pumas was one thing, but like, this is the whole test that we're talking about of, can you go and do this? in these toughest situations. I think Vancouver proved it last year. I think Columbus proved it a couple of years ago. So this is San Diego's big test here on Wednesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern time. Then on Thursday, they LA Galaxy play Mount Pleasant, who will have all their players available because they'll be home, but they lead 3-0, and I don't know, that one feels pretty done. And then Tigres Cincinnati at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Cincinnati 6-1 loss at the New England Revolution after leading 1-0 in that game. And then they beat Tigres 3-0 when we said they had no chance in this tie. It just feels very chaotic for this group.
Yeah, it does. And again, that's what Pat Noonan was saying after the game. He's like, there's no control and there's nothing coordinated about the way we're playing, and it has to be better in league play. He did specify in league play because obviously things went really well for them repeatedly now in continental play. In that first leg, Tigres came up with the ball a lot and left space for Cincy to counterattack into. And as uncoordinated as Cincy are when they're in possession, they're still a really dynamic and dangerous counterattacking team. The nature of the scoreline means that Tigres are going to get on the ball and they're going to come upfield and they're going to leave space to counterattack into. There were some nasty words, I guess, between Kevin Denke and Nahuel Guzman, the Tigres goalkeeper, afterwards. Nahuel basically threatened him. That's how Denke took it anyway. This could be a big minute, or big moment for Kevin Denke, because it is going to be like, look, man, since he's going to have 30% possession and they get one goal here, and I think it puts the tie away.
Yeah. If
they don't, it is not at all out of the question to take a 4-0 down in Tigres.
It is wild to be up 3-0 on a team and for it to be like, I don't know. It's like 50-50. I don't know which way it'll go.
We definitely need one.
But Tigres, a lot against them in that first leg, and that's how good they've been. And they are the team that they just do enough to win. It is not like this is how we play and this is what we want to do. It's like, okay, if you score 2, then we'll score 3 and we'll win a championship. And that's the exact line that they've lived on for a long time. This team feels capable of doing it as well. Okay, we're going to get out of here. The news just dropping that the MLS postseason schedule has been set. So it's going to be decision day, international break, and then come back for all the playoffs straight through, no break inside of the playoffs. And MLS Cup is going to be on a Friday, December 18th. So it's the first time in my experience covering the league that the final will not be on the weekend. I can't say that I hate it if it's a Friday night game. Like, it gets lost sometimes in the weekends of everything else, but the reason they're moving the schedule is because it gets lost anyway. And that's part of the problem with where MLS Cup sits. But it gives us a whole international break for us to break down all the series as we go into it here at SoccerWise, and it gives us a whole playoff run to follow and engage with, which we love to do. And we're going to cover the whole season all the way going up to it. So thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you to all of you for listening. Thank you to you, Doyle. Thank you to Andrew Wiebe. And we'll talk to you all again very, very soon.